Good evening. Good evening. This is Rashad Mitchell coming to you live from my YouTube channel as I continue on my part series. The week that was college football history review, the 1962 college football season. Um, I'll be talking about the overview of the 1962 college football season. Then I'm gonna go over week one, the games that were played on September 15th, 1962, and officially, the week one started on September 22nd, 1962. A lot of games, plethora of games were played on September 22nd, 1962. So that was officially the first week of the 1962 college football season. So here's the overview of the 1962 college football season, where it was the year of a long-awaited number one versus number two matchup, unrest at Ole Miss, and the sportsman of the year. More than 16 years had passed between November 9th, 1946, when AP number one ranked Army and number two Notre Dame tied scoreless at 0-0 at New York's Yankee Stadium, and January 1st, 1963, when number one ranked Southern California met number two ranked Wisconsin in the Rose Bowl to conclude the 1962 college football season. Since the AP started its poll of sports writers in 1936, it was by far the longest gap between meetings of the top two teams, as more than 25,000 major games were played during the long intervening stretch. It was worth the wait because USC edged Wisconsin 42-37 in one of the greatest games ever played. The Badgers made a 23-point fourth quarter comeback from a 42-14 deficit in the gathering gloom of Pasadena, mostly on passes from quarterback Ron Vanderkellen to end Pat Richter. Vanderkellen more than doubled the existing Rose Bowl passing yards record by throwing for 401 yards. Meanwhile, Mississippi completed a fabulous four-year run in which the Rebels registered a 39-3-1 record, including the bowl games. Although their regular season opponents sported only a 449 winning percentage in 1962, Ole Miss inflicted the only defeats on good opposition presented by Memphis State and Louisiana State. So in the Sugar Bowl, Missouri, Mississippi defeated Arkansas 17-13 after having the Razorbacks tie it twice at 3-3 and 10-10. The win gave the SEC a 25-12-6 outside its own corral in the 1962 regular season, 4-1 record in its bowl games. So LSU upset Texas for new coach Charlie McClendon in the Cotton. Alabama, with sophomore quarterback Joe Namath and senior linebacker Leroy Jordan, blanked Oklahoma in the orange, and Florida, inspired by Confederate flag decals stickered to their helmet fronts, surprised Penn State in the Gator Bowl. Now, Ole Miss faced disquieting international attention during the fall as federal marshals were sent to campus to ensure the safety of James Meredith, the school's first black student. White fullback Buck Randall made an impassioned speech but failed to halt student rioting. In the end, perhaps it was the excellence of rebel football that helped calm the campus. Three Big Ten teams were in the preseason top 10, but each failed to capture glory as number one Ohio State, number four Michigan State, and number seven Purdue suffered early disappointments. Long before the frost was on the pumpkin, the Spartans were bumped off by Stanford. The Buckeyes lost to UCLA, the Boilermakers were tied by Washington and beaten by Miami of Ohio. Oregon State clearly had the season's most spellbinding individual in quarterback Jerry Baker, who not only won the Heisman Trophy as the nation's top total offensive leader with 2,276 yards, but was named Sportsman of the Year by Sports Illustrated for his excellence in athletics and scholarship. Now, Baker was the only college football player so honored until Wake Forest fullback Chip Reeves was tapped in a group of eight charity-minded athletes in 1987. In the icy Liberty Bowl in Philadelphia, Baker provided the only score in a 6-0 win over Villanova, sweeping into his own end zone and racing up the left sideline for 99 yards, a bowl record that still exists more than 40 years later and can be tied but never be broken. Preseason number two Texas and Arkansas continued their nail-biting Southwest Conference matchups, with the Longhorns taking a chest-pounding last-minute win by 7-3 and turning it into Texas' first undisputed conference title since 1952. The Longhorns-Razorbacks rivalry was fast growing into the best of the entire 1960s decade because Texas won 6 out of 10 1960s tilts, but most were by very narrow margins. And the 1969 national title face-off was decided by 1 point. Meanwhile, preseason number 3 Alabama walloped Georgia early in the season and jumped to number 1 on September 24th. Sophomore quarterback Joe Namath still had healthy knees, was an excellent runner, and made decisions on offense that pleased one of football's most demanding coaches, Bear Bryant. The Crimson Tide would finish 5th in the defense of their national title, its only loss coming by 1 point to emotional Georgia Tech. So coaching changes brought some interesting developments as Bob Devaney resurrected Nebraska from 3-6-1 in 1961 to third place in the Big Eight in an exciting but frigid win over Miami in the short-lived Gotham Bowl in New York City. So in the next 35 years, the Cornhuskers under Devaney and his successor Tom Osborne went in the national spotlight consistently. Osborne receives much of the credit for Nebraska's greatness because it was under his watch that the Cornhuskers revitalized his defense in the 1990s with more speed. His teams dominated the 1990s, winning 2 national championships, playing for a third. But football historians need look no further than Nebraska's losing records of 1940 and 1, from 1956 to 1961, to understand the contribution of Devaney as a great coach. Because Devaney built a 101, 20 and 2 coaching record from 1962 to 1972, including his own national championships in 1970 and 1971. Also, much of Osborne's success took place under Devaney's tenure as athletic director. Lloyd Eaton, long forgotten in the 21st century, followed Devaney at Wyoming in 1962. So Eaton enjoyed considerable success in his 9 years as head coach, including a trip to the Sugar Bowl trip after a 10-0 regular season in 1977. 1967 had a 10-0 regular season record for Wyoming. But Eaton, a strong disciplinarian, was swallowed by confrontation with African American players. A 1-9 record by his demoralized team ate his reputation alive in his last season in 1970. Paul Diesel arrived at West Point, prepared to have the opportunity to revive the glory days of Coach Red Blake, for whom he had been an assistant. But the West Point cupboard was bare. With the pros offering increasingly rich contracts, great high school players looked to play where no post-grad military commitment would impede on their pro gridiron careers. Diesel fled in 1966 with a so-so 21-18-1 Army record. Charlie McClendon replaced Diesel at LSU and stayed until 1979, running up a 137-59-7 record and coaching in 13 bowl games. Charlie Bradshaw, a protege of Alabama's dynamic Bear Bryant, brought fierce training drills to Kentucky, a method of finding boys willing to pay the price for success, an approach that was similar to what Bryant accomplished at Texas A&M in 1954. But times were already changing in 1962 because many unwilling disillusioned Wildcat players quit the team. So the sparsely populated squad eked out late season wins over rivals Vanderbilt and Tennessee, but never achieved much success under Bradshaw amid its highly competitive Southeastern Conference rivals. Bill Yeoman, one-time West Point cadet under Coach Blake, arrived at Houston and had the Cougars rally by the end of the decade on the way to the school's Southwest Conference glory years of the 1970s. So the milestones that took place for the 1962 season at Western Athletic Conference was formed from two conferences with Charter Oak of Arizona State, Brigham Young, New Mexico, Utah, and Wyoming. Former Border Conference members Hardin Simmons, New Mexico State, Texas Western, West Texas State went independent, as did former Skyline Conference members Colorado State, Denver, Montana, and Utah State. Washington State entered AAW, becoming a sixth member. Rutgers left Middle Atlantic Conference to become independent. Eastern Michigan left Tiny State Conference to become independent as well. Along with Rutgers, who left Middle Atlantic Conference to become independent. Mississippi Southern College changed its name to the University of Southern Mississippi. The longest winning streaks that entered the 1962 college football season is that Rutgers had the longest winning streak in college football with 12 consecutive wins. Rutgers, followed by Alabama with 11 and Louisiana State with 10. Culture changes that took place: Army had Paul Diesel, Boston College Jim Miller, Colorado Bud Davis, Colorado State Mike Lude, Hawaii Jim Sato, Houston Bill Yeoman, Kentucky Charlie Bradshaw, Louisiana State Charlie McClendon, Mississippi State Paul Davis, Nebraska Bob Devaney, Hayden Fry for Southern Methodist, Hank Folberg, Texas A&M, Texas Western, O. A. Bum Phillips, Tulane, Tommy Boyle, Wyoming, Lloyd Eaton. Now, the preseason AP poll looked like this, where Ohio State was number one, followed by number two Texas, number three Alabama, number four Michigan State, number five Louisiana State, number six Mississippi, number seven Purdue, number eight Duke, number nine Penn State, and number 10 Washington. So let's look at the week that was. We're gonna start with September 15th, 1962, where Miami beat Pittsburgh by a score of 23-14. Miami quarterback George Myers set new Hurricanes offensive record with 248 yards. Myers passed 13 of 25, 162 yards and a touchdown. It was his dashing runs that frustrated the Panthers' big defensive line. In the first 3 minutes, Miami end kicker Bob Wilson made a 25-yard field goal that was partially blocked by Pitt guard Tom Brown. Pittsburgh's fullback Rick Leeson raced 45 yards but was tripped up by fullback defensive back Nick Ryder's shoestring tackle at 3-yard line. Miami's made goal line stand, defending first and goal at 3-yard line. 3 runs, lost 1 yard. And Pittsburgh native tackle Joe Smurdow, who had 7 tackles, rushed hard on 4th down to spoil Panthers quarterback Jim Traficant's pass for halfback Paul Martha. Next, Miami went 97 yards on a march in 13 plays, 97 yards, to halfback Nick Spinelli's 1-yard leaping touchdown. Martha threw 4th down, 9-yard touchdown to end Al Drigalunas, but motion penalty killed Pittsburgh's 2-point run attempt. Ahead 10-6 at halftime, Miami went 73 yards right after second half kickoff. Spinelli, who rushed for 10 carries for 52 yards, caught 6 passes for 67 yards, and was in on 10 tackles. And tallied for 8-yard line after Myra turned in on option for 36-yard run. Now Pitt's second touchdown came in the last minute as halfback Ed Clark ran 4 yards and Traficant tossed 2-point pass. Alright, here's officially the week 1 of 1962 college football season. Here we go. September 22nd, 1962. Penn State beat Navy by a score of 41-7. Penn State was number 9 team in the country. They beat Penn State 41-7. Penn State halfback defensive backs Al Gursky and Junior Powell each scored a touchdown on offense. Each had long-range interception touchdown return. Gursky's interception return went for 77 yards. Powell's for 52 yards. Navy halfback John Say raced 35 yards for second quarter touchdown. The Lions quarterbacks Pete Lisk, Don Calm, and Ron Coates, all rookie pitchers in the World Series, according to assistant coach Joe Paterno, combined for 16 of 24 for 234 yards passing. North Carolina State beat North Carolina by a score of 7-6. Accurate Wolfpack fullback punter Dave Holtz and tackle punter Glenn Sasser kept North Carolina pinned tighter than hogs in a slaughterhouse, according to reporter George Cunningham in the Charlotte Observer. Holtz punted Tar Heels back to the 12, 16, 21, 12, and 2-yard lines. Now, sophomore Sasser's first collegiate punt took advantage of a new touchback rule in 1962. His 39-yard boot landed in Tar Heels' end zone, but bounced back to the 2-yard line where halfback Tony Kozarski downed it. So quarterback Jim Rossi converted 3 passes to ends Don Montgomery and Bob Fairclough on third downs to soar North Carolina State to 67-yard touchdown flight after the second half kickoff. Halfback Joe Scarpati slipped through North guard for 5-yard touchdown. Fullback kicker Roger Moore nailed a conversion kick, barely out of its end and unable to get beyond Wolfpack 27-yard line. So North Carolina finally cranked up its offense from 12-yard line midway through the fourth quarter. Now Hill's quarterback Junior Edge completed passes of 8, 11, 8, 14, 5, and lastly, 30-yard touchdown to end Bob Lacey. So with 4:23 on the clock, North Carolina chose to kick extra point, but kicker Edge's conversion was wide. Army beat Wake Forest 40-14 as Pepsodent Paul Dietzel made his much-anticipated coaching debut at West Point, bringing with him his 3-unit system and colorful defensive specialist Chinese Bandits. Cadet cheering section soon donned coolie hats in recognition of Bandits. Quarterback Joe Blackgrove, part-time halfback in 1961, directed 3 touchdown drives. Army end defensive end John Ellerson recovered second quarter fumble, then caught Blackgrove's 27-yard touchdown pass. Future coach quarterback John Malkovich hurled 2 scoring passes for Wake Forest. Alabama, number 3 team in the country, beat Georgia in the shutout 35-0. Game would stir up much controversy a year later when Alabama coach Bear Bryant and Georgia athletic director Wally Buss were accused of exchanging vital pregame information. Uninformed telephone eavesdropper turned out to be wrong. Lawsuits were settled in coaches' favors. Stepping onto the national spotlight and the national stage for the first time was Crimson Tide sophomore quarterback Joe Namath, already somewhat brash and called the best player I've ever seen by Bryant. Passed for 10 for 14 for 179 yards and 3 touchdowns. Joe Namath rolled up 215 yards of offense until he was pulled with a 21-0 lead in the third quarter. Tide halfback Cotton Clark caught 2 touchdown passes from Namath, added 4-yard touchdown run in the fourth quarter. Georgia quarterback Larry Rakestraw was chased relentlessly by the Bama defense, led by center linebacker Leroy Jordan. The Bulldogs managed only 37 yards rushing. In sign of the change in times, 2 black men sat in the grandstand reserved for whites, thus integrating sporting event in Birmingham for the first time. Georgia Tech beat Clemson by a score of 26-9. Louisiana State number 5 team in the country shut out Texas A&M by a score of 21-0. Largest opening night crowd in Tiger Stadium history to date. Enjoyed coaching debut of Charlie McClendon. Quarterback Jimmy Field passed roundly, but his 23-yard connection with Jack Gates set up first half only touchdown of 4 yards by Tiger halfback Bo Campbell. Field also was team's top rusher with 7 carries for 44 yards. Halfback Jerry Stovall sparked second Tiger touchdown as he dashed 58 yards with second half kickoff and scored on a 2-yard smash. Fullback Steve Ward plunged for fourth quarter touchdown. Texas A&M also playing before the largest crowd ever to see any Aggies opener. A&M showed effective passing game at times but suffered 3 interceptions, including an interception by defensive back Phil. Quarterback Jim Keller was best of 4 passes sorted through by new Aggies coach Hank Foldberg. Meanwhile, Indiana shut out Kansas State 21-0. Northwestern beat South Carolina 37-20. Arkansas defeated Oklahoma State by a score of 34-7. Missouri defeated California 21-10. Oregon State beat Iowa State by a score of 39-35. Shootout developed between Beavers quarterback Terry Baker, the total offensive leader in waiting, and Cyclones tailback Dave Hopman, defending total offensive champion in 1961. Iowa State used Hopman touchdown runs of 48 and 1 yards to build a 21-13 halftime lead and a 28-13 third quarter lead. Then Oregon State rallied for 33-28 lead behind Baker, who had 2 touchdown runs and a touchdown pass. Iowa State regained edge at 35-33 on touchdown catch by wingback Dave Lemerick. Back came Beavers at Baker, hit and Jerry Neal with game winner with 29 seconds left to play. Next, Southern California beat number 8 Duke by a score of 14-7. Supposedly overmatched USC defensive line held rushing attack of number 8 Duke to mere 55 yards. The Trojans' defense also plucked 5 interceptions, 2 by linebacker Damon Bain. Still, Blue Devils were able to score in first quarter as halfback Jay Wilkinson eluded 2 defenders and reached high to catch 25-yard touchdown pass from quarterback Gil Garner. Now, Trojans match scored at 7-7 with quarterback Pete Beathard's short touchdown pass to tailback Willie Brown in second quarter. USC looked to his other quarterback Bill Nelson to loft 51-yard touchdown bomb to explosive end Hal Betso late in second quarter. In the second half, movement punts of fullback punter Ernie Jones and interceptions kept Duke off balance. And finally, Washington played against Purdue in a battle of 2 top 10 teams. Number 7 Purdue against number 10 Washington. This matchup ended in a 7-7 tie. As a result, Washington moved smartly after opening kickoff, driving 76 yards in 11 plays. Combination of halfback Charlie Mitchell sweeps and quarterback Bill Seiler option runs to touchdown plunge by fullback Bob Monroe somewhat stunned number 7 Purdue, who was in trouble until Huskies began dropping ball in the second quarter. Halfback defensive back Dave Miller made his second fumble recovery in Washington in a matter of minutes. So Boilermakers fullback Tom Yakovsky barreled in from 2-yard line. Then each team's defense seized control as end Dave Ellison tackled Don Braun, star for Purdue, and guard linebacker Rick Redmond for Washington Huskies. Center kicker Jim Norton missed 3 field goals, including a 32-yard try that grazed upright just 26 seconds from end. Now let's look at the AP poll as of September 24th. We had Alabama at number 1, Ohio State at number 2, Texas at number 3, Penn State at number 4, number 5 Louisiana State, number 6 Michigan State, number 7 Mississippi, number 8 Georgia Tech, number 9 Southern California, and number 10 Missouri. So it includes a look at week 1 of the college football season, the 1962 college football season, and this overview of the season and the games that were played on September 15, 1962, but the week 1 that was officially played on September 22nd, 1962. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Do what you can to support the channel. This is Rashad Mitchell, coming to you live from my YouTube channel. Until then, talk to you tomorrow.